So I've been playing around with the PlayStation VR2 as of this week, and honestly, I'm very impressed. I wasn't expecting this level of quality out of a VR headset that is specific to a console. I actually found myself playing for much longer sessions than I anticipated or even intended on just because it was such an immersive experience. So with a lot of pleasure, I bring to you my review of the PSVR2. This is probably the best headset under $550 if you have a PlayStation 5 and for literally no other purposes. And while there are some things that I would say that I would still like to address about it, this is overall an amazing headset. So let's dive right in. The exterior design consists of plastic and a lot of padding. This headset does resemble the Oculus or Meta Quest 2, but it is larger, and you will also notice that this one needs a cable to work. I know that some people have complained about this particular aspect, but it is a necessity since this headset can do 4K between both eyes and 120 Hz, and we will get more into this a little bit later. As it is, this headset is built really nicely, and I would say that this is the ideal build that you would want for your VR headset. Overall, I have a lot of great things to say about the build, and I wouldn't really change anything about it at this time. I'm genuinely happy with what has been offered here. So when it comes to the comfort, this headset absolutely nailed it here too. You can easily adjust how tight this headset is through the getup on the back, which features a button on the center to loosen the headset completely, and it also features a knob for tightening the headset after the fact. It's actually pretty clever, and the fact that this is a first-party solution, I'm impressed. You can also adjust the distance of each display through the wheel on the top left corner when wearing it, and it's pretty neat. I like to keep these as close together as possible, though there is that flexibility if you want it. It's important for a product or a headset that is this expensive to have ways of adjusting it properly so that it can fit as many people as possible. They also included plenty of padding so that wearing this headset for prolonged use is totally doable. This headset is also pretty light, so I would not worry at all about the weight bothering you, as I think that this will be very manageable, so the comfort is something that they clearly put a lot of thought into. However, there are going to be a few things that I do not love, and one of these will be the controllers that they included. Now, let me be clear. What I don't like is that silly circle that actually makes it pretty difficult to grab each controller, never mind the right controller, when you're already wearing the headset, which is how I assume most people will be needing to do it. These circles or rings really just get in the way, and I hate them. I wish that if they absolutely needed to include these rings or circles, then they should have completely reversed them like how Oculus or Meta did to make it much easier to grab these controllers when you're using the headset already. And they're a little bit harder to see. Another thing that I don't really like are how the face buttons and the PlayStation button have been designed. The face buttons of these controllers in general are just not great for actual usability because they aren't totally flat and somewhat angle off a little bit. I find these buttons to make a lot of initial getting used to before every gaming session so that I can feel out the buttons and their positioning. So that is another downside of this setup to me. However, they did the triggers pretty well here, and they are easy to reach for, so these buttons are not an issue for me. However, I definitely would have designed these controllers differently, as I find them to be more of an inconvenience to adjust myself to, rather as a tool that actually helps me game. But this is mostly regarding the face buttons and the shape, along with that ring, because the haptics are really good on this controller with all of these negatives aside. But before I forget, another great thing that I really appreciate is that these controllers are rechargeable through the USB-C port. Bonus points here because I never liked having to use a AA battery for each controller. This is a much more elegant solution. Another thing that I don't like is the audio solution that they decided to go with here. They went with earbuds, and these are both great and terrible at the same time. These are great because they actually sound really good for VR. So in terms of raw audio, I actually really like how they sound. Another great thing is that these plug really well onto the headset as is. So there are going to be some slots to route the cable through, and they just plug in right into your ears without a cable dangling around being in the way. But these really suck because these are the basic gummy style earbuds that simply don't sit in my ears regardless of which ear tips I use. The headset does come with extra ear tips, but they don't fit for me. None of them fit well enough for me. These slide out of my ears all of the time very quickly with very minor movements, so they don't sit. This is also partly because of the shape of the buds, as these clearly are not designed very well to fit at least a relatively generic ear shape. I don't like how these fit at all. Luckily, these do have a 3.5mm jack for audio, so you could try other headphones with it, which should be able to work just fine, but you might have a cable in the way. But either way, I guess it's nice that you have that option. When it comes to specs, this headset features 2 displays, one for each eye, and each one is an OLED screen with a 2000 by 2040 resolution that gets up to 120 Hz. The cameras and sensors are built right onto the headset as well, which means that you won't have to set up anything outside of the headset. It's as plug and play as it possibly gets. There are also built-in haptics on the headset, so this headset does vibrate when needed. So when it comes to the setup process and the software, there are going to be some cool things here. It's really simple and straightforward, as this headset does the scanning of your environment for you, and it actually does a really good job at that. Like, surprisingly so, and I can appreciate what they did here, but I have found that it wants me to set my play area every time I turn on this headset, so there is still some minor setup to work through every time you power this headset on. So let's work on that. Let's have an update that allows for the PlayStation 5 to just remember the settings that you had from before. That would be much better in my opinion, but overall, everything seems pretty straightforward. So I tested out Horizon Call of the Mountain, which is a PlayStation VR title, and I found myself being completely enthralled. The fact that I have access to so many adjustments on this headset means that I can get an almost perfect fit, and everything just looks so sharp through the displays on this headset. I was able to get a nearly perfect seal, which helped a lot with immersion. So unlike with other headsets, I found that I got the best view through this one. It's just unmatched so far. The game looked absolutely beautiful and extremely colorful thanks to the OLED displays. The haptics on the headset were also really nice for immersion, and these were not too aggressive either by any means. In fact, they were pretty comfortable, and the same goes with the controllers, as the haptics on these did offer a pretty cohesive experience. This is so far the best VR headset experience that I have had on any headset. I mean, I have tested, and it could be because it was tailor-made for this specific console, but everything just fell into place really nicely. I'm a busy man, so I intended on playing for 30 minutes every day to get a good idea of how everything would work, and I ended up staying for well over an hour each session, which is really impressive. I felt like I was actually in the world of Horizon and had a tough time putting this headset down for that reason. So the gaming experience, yeah, it's really good. In conclusion, I really like this headset. Maybe not the full package, but the headset itself is really good. I want these controllers to be redesigned because I think that they are tedious to work with and not as comfortable as other options. I also want a better in-house audio solution that features the same or even better audio quality, but a much better fit for more people. But overall, I think that this headset is worth the money as long as Sony keeps releasing more VR games for it. So keep that in mind. But right now, the library is pretty small. So my suggestion is probably to wait unless you intend on playing all 4 games currently available for it. So I would personally wait and make sure that there will be more games that you would be interested in. As fun as Horizon is, and as much fun as I'm sure Resident Evil will be when I eventually buy it, I do think that 2 games are not really worth the purchase of an entire accessory that is more expensive than the PlayStation 5 itself, as it is. So I would wait. Just be patient, as I'm sure that your patience will be rewarded. Also, wait for some third-party solutions for the audio that's specifically designed for this, because we deserve a more comfortable alternative. So the moral of the story is really just to wait. So thank you so much for watching this video all the way up until the very end. I do appreciate that a lot. And hopefully this video was very helpful to you. There aren't going to be any affiliate links to this headset, but there's just going to be a regular link to the PlayStation Store if you are interested in getting yourself a pair. Now, I do want to say that this is a really cool product, so again, if you do want to get it, links down below. You don't have to use my link, though. I wanted to say that I do have an Instagram and a Twitch that you could also stop by at. In case of anything, you can come and chat with me if you have any questions or anything of the sort. And I have an Instagram in case you want to keep up with some of the rare things that I post every now and then. But with that said, this has been Francisco from Tech Summit. Thank you for watching, and until next time, enjoy.